Alright guys, this is the world of Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, a medieval grand strategy game that came out back in December 2022 with this beautiful looking campaign map where you take control of a kingdom, lead it to glorious conquest, manage your resources and economy, build and upgrade a variety of historical cities, regions, nations, recruit armies, conduct diplomacy with other kingdoms and cultures as well, and engage in Total War inspired battles. Now, I've been playing Knights of Honor 2 for the last few months. I was actually an early access beta tester back when it was being developed, so I've seen it grow and improve into a really fun and well-made grand strategy game. Today, I'll be doing an honest review of the state of the game in 2024, guide you through all its features, mechanics, and compare it to other games in the genre, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know whether it's worth picking up or not. So let's get started. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign is essentially Crusader Kings meets Total War. In the campaign, there are a variety of mechanics that you engage with to manage your kingdom, to take care of domestic interests and international influence, and from diplomacy to spy networks to waging war, there are tons of ways to progress through your campaign to become the ultimate goal of Emperor of the World. You have 3 eras to choose from, including 1100, 1224, and 1360 AD, each with their own selection of factions with unique starting positions, economic and diplomatic circumstances, and most importantly, there's a nice amount of customization available, which I find very useful. You can choose victory conditions and the size of all starting kingdoms. You can edit how rulers age or how much gold you start with. This might not seem like much, but it translates over to multiplayer as well, which is really nice of the devs to implement. Jumping into your campaign, the first thing you'll notice is there are lots of panels and lots of buttons, lots of information. You have tons of little mechanics and then messages start rolling in, and thankfully to navigate all of this, the game not only comes with a tooltip system, but as it is all played in real time, it also comes with a speed adjustment allowing you to slow things down to take a closer look. We've got different population types from nobles, soldiers, merchants, clergy, and peasants, each with their own interests and motivations, and their opinions, whether positive or negative, impacts things like trade income, military effectiveness, or diplomatic standing. You have kingdom stability, which is closely tied with public order in your cities. From signing a non-aggression pact to unlocking a specific resource, there are loads of ways public opinion and stability can change, so it's always best to keep an eye on these and make sure you're getting the best benefits for your kingdom. Over on the top right, we have kingdom resources, so the treasury, which you'll spend on recruitment and buildings, books, which are used to upgrade noble skills and buy faction traditions, religious power, which you spend on converting populations, commerce, which is a measure of how much you can trade with other kingdoms, and finally food and soldiers, which together help recruit and maintain your armies. All pretty straightforward. Most important of all, though, you have your ruler and his closest advisors, which are made up of marshals, merchants, scholars, spies, or diplomats, depending on your style of kingdom and playthrough and the circumstances of your campaign. Maybe you want to wage full-on war with as many armies as possible, in which case you'll need as many marshals as you can get. Or maybe you want to be a trading kingdom focusing on money making, so you'll have loads of merchants. This is an area, I think, where Knights of Honor 2 really thrives, giving you a lot of faction customization and giving campaigns a lot of replayability and flavor. We have a province overview panel for you to have a look at managing your cities all at once. There's a royal libraries where you can find all the information in a kind of FAQ format you need about the game and its mechanics, a friends, threats, and wars panel with basically the most important diplomatic information that impacts you directly, and a family tree and traditions panel which shows you your dynasty and a unique set of traditions you can unlock through spending skill points on your ruler and advisors. Now, all of these are much more mechanical in nature. They are vital processes to develop and keep in the positive in order to essentially have a stable and growing kingdom. But the easiest and best way to grow and prosper is to conquer more provinces and build new higher tier buildings. Each province comes with a certain number of either churches, ports, castles, or villages that give you bonuses to certain building chains, and with each building you get access to new resources, and certain combinations of resources will give your kingdom an advantage. From benefits like plus 25% to merchant income, or plus 1,000 book capacity, or plus 30% population growth across your cities, which is quite a lot, getting a kingdom advantage can be a huge game changer, and unlocking them all is actually one of the ways to winning your campaign. So the real strategy here is in planning your style of play, commerce versus intrigue versus straight up conquering, and in line with that style, figuring out the best provinces to gain ownership over, to unlock new resources, and to become the biggest, most powerful empire in medieval Europe. Easier said than done, of course, depending on the faction you choose, but if you manage to do it, you'll be ranked as a major power with influence over other kingdoms as well, who will either hate you because they're jealous or admire you because they're scared. Become big enough and you can even claim victory by trying to become the emperor of the world. This will trigger a vote among these factions, and if you win, great, but if you don't get enough votes, you start a mini world war, so best to be prepared when trying this out. Altogether, it's a system with many cogs that are constantly turning. Spies are getting into courts to influence one of the advisors. Merchants are trying to find lucrative trade opportunities. You can set governors for cities, spread your culture to other rival kingdoms, develop defensive pacts, and more. There are a ton of factors that can benefit your kingdom and its prosperity, and I think personally the campaign is fairly straightforward and quite intuitive in this way. It's not as detailed and brain-melting as something like Hoi 4 or Imperator Rome, and it's not as family or court-focused as Crusader Kings 3. It's heavy on economics and development, and you do enjoy some freedom of choice when it comes to what sort of kingdom you want to lead. There are a ton of positives here. It's polished, bug-free, it's got nice music, it's nice to look at, it's got multiplayer with up to 6 players that is honestly so much fun, and generally, mechanics, the AI, everything works pretty well, but Knights of Honor 2 is definitely not without some issues and design flaws, and some of them are extremely annoying. For many reasons, I would say it's currently not a very balanced game. Depending on how quickly you start expanding and conquering other provinces, you can unlock resources really fast, and if you play it right, which to be honest isn't difficult, you can pretty much unlock almost every kingdom advantage in an afternoon, which is a bit of a buzzkill. Higher difficulties will make things more challenging, of course, and make the AI give you more trouble for it, but overall it's pretty damn easy to get resources unlocked early on in your campaigns, and that can lead to a very boring mid to late game. Diplomacy, which should be a primary aspect of the game and technically is more complex than the first Knights of Honor, is almost totally absent as the devs didn't design its own kind of panel for it. You essentially have to click on a faction's city and then emblem to engage in diplomacy, which is just really lazy design. Not that it really matters because you rarely engage in diplomacy anyway. Waging war, on the other hand, which is the biggest complaint among players, is unfortunately an incredibly lazily designed mechanic. You don't get much troop variety, and the highest tier troops are just really overpowered. Recruiting depends on population, and if you run out of pops in a city, you need to wait absolutely ages to recruit. Battles are limited to 2 armies per side, which means if you've got 2 armies fighting a losing battle, you can't introduce a 3rd army. It just sits there, which is kind of ludicrous game design, and worst of all, you can't have more than 9 marshals, which means only 9 armies in your campaign, which is, at a certain size, can be quite crippling. The worst thing about Knights of Honor 2, though, and most disappointing, is after 15 years, manual battles are no better than how they were in the original. These may be Total War inspired, but they are definitely nowhere near as engaging and fun, and personally, I completely avoid them. They're visually subpar, the lack of variety in troops translates here to very little in the way of tactics, and the AI doesn't know how to play the battles either, and you can't even see your entire army at once because the camera is so limited, so in every way possible, battles are a major disappointment. The good news here is the modding support, and there are mods currently available and in development that do fix some of these issues, and THQ Nordic are really invested in growing modding capabilities, so things like more customization, new eras, new mechanics, new everything can eventually be implemented in the game, which is really an amazing thing. Overall, though, among the other major titles in the grand strategy genre, especially those with historical settings, I would say Knights of Honor 2 is worth buying and playing. The economy system, the advisors, the different mechanics, resources, buildings, building an empire is really quite fun here, especially if you're playing in 6-player co-op campaigns. Does it have issues? Of course, but every game does. What every game doesn't have is developers who are listening to community feedback and doing their best to improve their game, which Knights of Honor 2 does. And over time, some, if not hopefully all of the issues I've mentioned here today will get looked at and fixed eventually. It may not be as intricately detailed as a Paradox game or have the most visually stunning and engaging battles as in Total War, and to be honest, it doesn't deserve to be compared to those titles. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign is its own game with its own approach to grand strategy that I think THQ Nordic should be proud of, and that I think any player could easily pick up and enjoy. And that's it for today, guys. This has been my review of Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign in 2024. The game is currently available on Steam for £38 in my local currency, which I would say is pretty reasonable for what it delivers, and I've done my best today to give you a fair and honest review of its features, the gameplay, and why I think it's a grand strategy game worth playing. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any comments or questions in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think about Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. Subscribe to the channel for more strategy game content, news, and reviews just like this. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.